back at it again here with another video with Invest for Tomorrow. To all the first time viewers and investors, welcome to the channel. To all the subscribers, welcome back. And all I ask for in return is for you to smash that like button to let me know you watch this video. Helps out the YouTube channel and lets me know you appreciate the time and effort I put into making these videos. Now, here we are with CLOV stock, Clover Health Investments. We're going to talk about this chart as well as Wish stock, ContextLogic Inc. But before we jump into these charts, I want to share with you guys the home run of the day that was mentioned this morning over at the Discord, and we're going to jump right back into it with these charts and everything about them moving forward. The home run of the day was spectacular, guys, and if this is something that interests you and you want to become part of, I would like to invite you to join us. The link is down below in the description to the Discord, and by joining, you'll become part of a growing community of investors all looking to learn and grow together. So we talked about this morning GRNQ and MRIN. Now MRIN turned out to give us a 5 to 10% jump, 3 to 5% jumps, but GRNQ was the home run of the day, guys. 30% plus at its highest point. Started watching it in the pre-market, jumped up 3 to 5%, pulled back down, jumped up nearly 10% in a matter of minutes, pulled back, and in just 30 minutes after the bell, hit a highest point of 30% plus, guys. If this is something you want to become part of, you're more than welcome to. The link is down below in the description, and we look forward to having you join us. Let's jump into these charts. So here we are with Wish stock, ContextLogic Inc. And I want to share with you guys a short clip that happened yesterday night on the lightning round, right, by Jim Cramer. We're going to see how he reacts, and I'm going to share with you guys some of my insight and what I believe in my opinion here on what's moving this stock and what to look at moving into next week and what it could actually entail, whether this is actually happening because of these different variables or this is the beginning of a staircase effect. Let's listen to it. We're coming right back to the charts and everything about it. All right, so we're going to listen to this real quick. It's just a few seconds long, and you're going to see his reaction. And this has something to do with today's move, and I'm going to share with you guys why in just a moment, but hear this out.
Hey man, retail investor here. Show us some love, baby.
I'm gonna try. What do I throw? What am I throwing love at?
Wish. What are you thinking about Wish, man?
Man, I'm not throwing any love you that way. No, I mean, when you wish upon a bad stock, that one's just, no, we're not going to go there. I do love the individual investor, though. And that, ladies and gentlemen.
So as you can see, Jim Cramer actually was kind of not giving any support or any really positive feedback when it came to Wish. Yet Wish goes from a new all-time low and jumps up today tremendously. Well, why is that, right? That's the big question mark. Well, the first thing is it just tested a new all-time low. And every time it touches a new all-time low, it has happened so far on a Friday. So I like to look for patterns. You guys know that already. I talk about the stuff that you want to be aware of and the bull traps and stuff. And this is starting to look like a bull trap scenario all over again. Why? Because last Friday it jumped up, sat sideways, and then we started hitting all these newer lows. Now the question is, will it do the same thing again? Jump up, sat sideways, and goes down to newer lows. That is the big question mark going into next week. That's one thing. The second thing is Wish stock right now, when Jim Cramer said that, it's jumped up pretty big because Wall Street Bets and Jim Cramer right now are kind of going head to head. Like at one point, Wall Street Bets felt supported by Jim Cramer, and then another point, it's like Jim Cramer doesn't agree with everything because he's looking at things from a fundamental perspective, and all these meme stocks are kind of hard to track in his perspective and his way, right? And his way of interpreting charts and the value of companies. Now, the whole entire meme stock, community, right, is seeing this as a potential at some point to squeeze or actually reverse. Now, him saying that created, I think, a lot of buying pressure from the community itself to come on in and make it run, but then without realizing that they're forming another bull trap if it can't stay at these levels or at least consolidate within this channel, guys, within this upward channel here, and not come back to retest these lows. Because if it does and it breaks through it, we're on our way to newer lows, and it's going to be super important to watch this getting closer to $6, and if it even breaks through it, right? Now that's one thing. The second thing, fundamentally right now, and based off the earnings report, the stock really doesn't have a lot of strength. The only thing that can push it up is actually finding a bottom, breaking away from it, consolidating, fighting back and forth day in and day out for several weeks or months until the bulls come in and start loading up, or some positive catalyst that pushes this up, forcing shorts to cover. But when you really think about it, the short float is not that high. I think it barely reaches 10%. So the problem is here, not really shorts, if not overall how much money has left Wish, ContextLogic Inc., and not a lot of money's coming in. When that money starts flowing in, we will possibly see a difference in the chart and a possible upside potential. Now, analysis price targets, even though they've been downgraded, and I've talked about this before, they're still pointing to the upside. So that is something to be aware of and keep in mind. Now, our support level here, based off the lowest point that this reached, is 617, 616. I'll keep that in mind. And then $6, like I've always stated, if it breaks through 650, watch how it does between 650 and $6. Now, today it hit a high here of 692. It almost reached $7, came back down, and currently sitting within this area of about 655 and 676. If it could stay within this channel, that will be a sign of strength and not going back down this way, if not staying there until the next catalyst, and then it starts to form the staircase effect that I've talked about before, and we finally slightly found a bottom. I'm not saying that's going to be the bottom, but that might be it, and then it can actually continue the upward direction to reach newer highs, new resistance levels, and start pushing upwards with momentum. And then also a possible squeeze if shorts have to cover, because this is going higher. But right now, one of the biggest things is no one on Wall Street really feels confident about this stock. No one really sees value in this stock. But in those moments when everyone doesn't see value, it's important to watch it carefully and pay close attention to what's going on, because once this starts to reverse and it finds a bottom and it comes back with strength, it might not test those lows again, right? That's the most important thing. But right now, this has been in nothing but a downward trend. Last Friday, it jumped up pretty significantly, and I called it right there saying, could this be a bull trap? Turned out to be one, and it fell down to newer lows down here of 615, 617, 616, give or take in that area. It's bounced up again today on a Friday, and the question is this another bull trap? Right now, the stock has not found a bottom. We will know if this doesn't come back to retest these lows or breaks through these lows. This may be the bottom for now, and we're going to have to watch this carefully, and it might be forming a strength right here of consolidation or a staircase effect that can start pushing this up to newer highs. Now, Wish got hit hard towards earnings, and I think that is something that no one was expecting. If anything, people were expecting a slight dip and then buy the dip and ride it back up, but this has significantly impacted the stock overall. Now, a lot of investors are looking for that short squeeze, and that's going to take possibly a lot of time, and it's going to take a lot of strength actually of volume, inflow volume from the bulls to push this up. As you see here, the average volume is 63 million and the daily volume is nowhere near it. It's almost half of it, just a little bit above half, but it needs to break through this amount or be even more. So today's volume, yeah, it was significant to the upside, but it wasn't a lot. Last week's volume, when this actually jumped up, it was in the 200 millions, excuse me. It was 100 million by the middle of the day, and it ended the day 200 million shares that were traded, guys. So think about that compared to these numbers, and I think it was one of the top traded stocks, if not the number one traded stock on Friday. Now, if this continues to go lower and we continue to see these so-called bull traps, right, that I'm calling them because they jump up and it continues to go lower, they might not just be bull traps, if not large investors, big whales, loading up on positions, averaging down, and taking advantage of those new lows, right? Because at the time, this was the new low. At this time, yesterday to today, this was the new low. Could there be another new low? That's what we need to monitor and watch closely. So here we are with CLOV stock, Clover Health Investments, and when you zoom out on this chart, the chart does not look that strong, and it almost looks like it's in a very bearish position and state. Now we're going to look at some things here because we have a lot of investors expecting a squeeze to come. Now, if a squeeze does happen, I have stated in the videos before, do not expect it to be exactly the same as this. It could be worse than this, or it could be better than this, right? Going all the way up to $28, or break through it, or not even reach it. So it's not really focusing right now on Clover Health if there's going to be a squeeze or not. If not, looking at its value where it currently sits and how it reacted on earnings, guys. On earnings, this stock jumped up from $8 all the way up to $10 and some change the day of the aftermarket hours and the next pre-market, and since then it's been pretty bearish. Now, I stated that that was looking like a bull trap, and I've talked about the barcoding that happened here. A lot of investors have heard me like a broken record state. That was a state right there in the chart that I just didn't really like, right? Just looked like weakness was on its way, and to see barcoding at 30-minute time frames is really, really rare. Like, you'll never really see stocks just kind of barcoding like that in a 30-minute time frame. You'll see it in 1 minute, 5 minute, or a penny stock, right? Something below $5, but not something at $9, which was, like I said, very interesting, especially that date that there was a lot of volume going on. Now, another thing to pay attention to is volume, right? Average volume has been going lower and lower in the last 10 days, and the daily volume is nowhere near it. So that goes to show how the stock is in a state of weakness, because not enough volume is picking up the stock. And if it does push it up a little bit, all it takes is a little bit of more volume to the outside of things, right? Like, instead of inflowing, outflowing out of the stock to push it down just a bit, right? So today, from yesterday to today, actually, it had a nice movement. We're going to look at key levels here, but I want you guys to remember the narrative. And the narrative has always been that analysis price targets still point this up to the upside. And it's important to be aware that where the stock currently sits, it still has about a 20% upside potential. Well, currently where it sits at 777, it's actually about a 15%. But at the average price target, it's 22. And at the $10 price target, it's around 25 to 30%. So there is room here for this stock to possibly go up just based off of analysis price targets and the fundamentals and technicals going on with the stock. Anything beyond that is anything to do with short squeezes or short float, which is what we're going to look at in just a moment. And the short float is pretty big. Now, this stock has been shorted heavily before, and we saw what happened, right? It had mini jumps before the big jump. So these right here were small short squeezes that jumped from $7 to almost 10 3 times, and the highest was 11, came back down, and then at that $6 mark, it started to reverse and take off. So before these small jumps here, I talked about this stock in the 7s. It jumped up to 11, giving about a 10 to 30% opportunity within those jumps. And then on the way down, I talked about it a week before. It hit that low at $6. I've shown that post before, and then it took off 4x. Did everyone expect that? No, we expected that there would be a reversal at some point, and I was expecting something similar to what we saw here, or maybe a little bit more, and it went beyond expectations. Now, in the current state that the stock is in, we're back to these levels where we've watched it before, which is in the 7s, and the big question is, could it go towards the 52-week low? Well, that's a possibility, and it could possibly even break through that if it goes into further weakness. Now, one of the biggest things right now holding this stock down and not allowing it to go any higher is the short float. So let's go ahead and look at it here. So the short float is 22%, and that's pretty high, guys. 20% or more is pretty high. If this continues to go higher, it might push the stock even lower and actually create a bigger potential for a short squeeze. So that is something to be aware of. Now these are some of the previous price targets, and some of them have been initiated and not touched, and some of them have already been downgraded. And one of the main ones is JP Morgan. Started off at 15 and it's at 9. But the most important thing right now, based off of what we see here, there is pretty high short interest. The stock continues to fall lower, and let's look at the key levels that are going to be important going into Monday and the rest of the week. So the lowest point that we saw was 742. I've talked about if this broke through 750 to watch between 750 and $7. It got out of that, but it's trying to fight and stay above 750. You could see it here at 757 being the low of today, and after hitting 742 it bounced back, and the highest point that it reached is up here at 788. So that definitely needs to break through 788 to start pushing higher and continue that momentum. But if this stock starts going into weakness, it's important to watch 757 to 742 how this reacts. And if it breaks through 742, it's going to be a very important pivotal moment to watch this between 742 and $7, how it reacts, and if the bulls can hold themselves up above $7. Because if this breaks through $7, we will go into the sixes, and no one knows how low. We don't know the bottom, and if even this can touch the fives, at least the high fives, if it breaks through the 52-week range low, right, which was 631, and that is something that has not been touched in months, and it's going to be something to monitor and pay close attention to. Now, I have always said the lower this goes, the bigger the opportunity if there is going to be a short squeeze, but that's not the main focus. If not, the price targets that analysis ratings have given this are still showing potential of 10 to 20%, 20 to 30% so far based off of what we see, and some of the highest ones are showing anywhere from 20 to 50% from the current levels. As always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's make some money.